Every one of your actions either reflects traction, moving in the direction of what you actually want, helping you accomplish goals, or distraction, moving away from what you actually want and your goals. Today, with technology as an integral part of your world, it's harder than ever to avoid the temptation of distraction. To keep moving in the right direction, you need to become indistractable, able to understand and avoid your distractions and choose traction. There are 4 elements of the indistractability model. Control your internal triggers. Build your schedule around your values. Reduce external triggers. Create pre-commitments. We'll discuss these 4 elements and then examine different ways you can bring indistractable habits to your workplace, your children, and your relationships. Part 1. Control your internal triggers. The root of distraction is inside you. Humans are motivated by freedom from discomfort. Mental and physical discomfort triggers you to find escapes. This may look like escaping difficult homework by scrolling social media or escaping marriage problems by building a farm on Animal Crossing. To get a handle on your distractions, you need to control their root cause, internal triggers. Change your thinking around your discomfort. Learning to control your internal triggers isn't about trying not to think about them. This will just make you fixate on them more. It's about learning to change how you think about them. 3 exercises can help you examine and understand your internal triggers. Exercise 1. Reflect on the trigger. Rather than reacting to triggers with distraction, take 4 steps to meaningfully reflect on them and make more deliberate, traction-supporting choices. Identify the trigger. When you're about to switch over to a distracting activity, ask yourself, what discomfort or feeling triggered me to do this? Usually, you'll find that the source is a negative emotion like anxiety, boredom, or lack of control. Note the trigger. Keep a distraction notebook where you write down the details of your triggers, the time of day, where you were, your emotions, what you were doing when you felt distracted, and the distracting action you took. This step raises your awareness of your distraction patterns, helping you better control your actions in the future. Examine the feeling. When you experience internal discomfort, commit to fully exploring all of your mental and physical feelings. Trying to suppress feelings often makes them stronger, but approaching them with curiosity helps them dissipate. Look out for transitions. Distraction often happens when your brain is in the process of shifting from one activity to another. In these moments, tell yourself you'll give in to the distraction in 10 minutes. Usually, the urge passes by then. Exercise 2. Reframe the situation. Rethink the situation you're in, finding a way to make it fun. Fun doesn't always feel good. It often feels like challenge, discovery, or most importantly, freedom from discomfort. Making your situation engaging decreases internal triggers such as boredom and frustration, which curbs your urge to escape into distracting behaviors. This process has 2 parts. Dive deeper into the situation. Break the situation down into its smallest elements and examine them. This helps you find new perspectives and challenges. For example, if you're bored at your job in a coffee shop, closely examine each element of making a perfect latte, espresso type, cream content, steaming temperature, and so on. Create play. Come up with different challenges. These should include limitations, which spark creativity and engagement. For example, if you have several essays to write, you might aim to write 3,000 words every day or set time limits to beat. Exercise 3. Rethink who you are. Successfully becoming indistractable requires you to rethink 2 ideas about yourself: your willpower and your labels. Willpower. Many people believe they have finite willpower that becomes depleted. We often use this as an excuse for unhealthy behaviors. For example, you binge-watch Netflix after work because your willpower is spent. It's important to think of your willpower as an emotion that comes and goes rather than a resource that runs out. If you think of willpower as a resource, you might give up on an overwhelming project because you need a break. On the other hand, if you think of willpower as an emotion, you find a way to manage it in that moment, such as completing a small or easy part of the project to get a boost of motivation. Labels. Pay attention to the way you label yourself. When you label yourself a certain way, for example, easily distracted or impulsive, your behavior becomes more aligned with that label. This works in a positive way, too. Calling yourself focused or indistractable will prompt focused, indistractable behaviors. Part 2. Build your schedule around your values. When your time isn't structured, it's all too easy to give it up to distractions that feel urgent or necessary. You get to the end of the day having done a lot, but none of the things you meant to do. The natural solution to distraction-filled days is creating a schedule. Build your schedule around the 3 responsibilities that take up all of your time: you, your relationships, and your work, and your values in each. This allows you to visualize the balance among your responsibilities and better distinguish between traction and distraction. Any behavior that happens at a time it's not scheduled is a distraction, even if it feels productive. In this section, we'll examine how each of your 3 responsibilities should show up in your life, then discuss how to build and maintain an indistractable schedule. Responsibility 1. You. If you're suffering in the you department, your relationships and work will suffer, so it's crucial that your personal values are scheduled first instead of squeezed around other activities. There are 2 parts to scheduling meaningful you time. Schedule your basic needs such as sleeping, eating, and grooming. This helps you compare how you should care for yourself with how you actually care for yourself. Think about who you want to be and the qualities you want to have, and what value-aligned activities you can schedule. For example, for your value of mindfulness, you might schedule 15 minutes of gratitude reflection in the morning. For your value of staying healthy, you might schedule an hour-long walk every morning. Responsibility 2. Your relationships. Make time for non-negotiable commitments to your relationships with your family and friends every week. Family. Schedule regular indistractable time with your kids and partner. This time is a commitment, not something that can be pushed aside for another activity or interrupted by your email or social media. With your children, you might dedicate several device-free hours every Saturday afternoon doing an activity of their choosing. With your spouse, schedule deliberate time together to enjoy one another's company, such as date nights or projects you want to work on. Friends. Friendship is easily overshadowed by everyday wants and needs of your partner, children, and work. Without maintenance, your friendships easily dissipate. Your plans with friends need to be regular. Set events in your schedule, not items on a to-do list. For example, you might have a weekly commitment to Sunday night drinks with your group of friends. Because this event happens every week as a group, members can occasionally miss it if they must but can count on seeing you again the next week. Responsibility 3. Your work. It's crucial that the way you're spending your time at work is well aligned with what you want to do and who you want to be. Otherwise, your workday can easily become disorganized and distracted. A schedule helps your manager understand your distractions and see how your time is spent, and it makes for a better balance of values both at work and outside of work. At work, your schedule gives your manager a clear idea of how you're spending your time, which helps them contextualize problems such as late projects, a slump in productivity, and so on. With this information and an understanding of your values, they can suggest areas where you might reprioritize your tasks or cut out activities that aren't serving your and their goals. For example, you want a promotion, so you start taking on too many projects, making you increasingly frazzled and disorganized. When your manager understands your motivations and schedule, they can explain that spending more time on boosting your sales and less time on other projects would be more helpful to their goals and won't hurt your chances of promotion. Outside of work, your work-related schedule should note any non-negotiable commitments that happen outside the workplace. This helps your manager know when it is and isn't appropriate to ask you to do extra work or stay late. For example, if your weekly schedule shows Thursday nights blocked off for family, your manager understands that it's not reasonable or appropriate to ask you to stay late. However, if there are no non-negotiables on your Wednesday night schedule, your manager could reasonably ask to cut into that time if a project is truly urgent. Build and maintain an indistractable schedule. First, reflect on how your 3 responsibilities show up in your life and ask yourself 3 questions. What is or isn't working in my current schedule? Think about areas where you're spending too much time or too little time. What activities would better align me with my values? Think about parts of your day where you sacrifice your values in one area for another, and imagine how activities would look different if you stuck to one responsibility at a time. How much time do I want to allocate to each of my responsibilities? Think about the ways your schedule would allow you more time for some values and restrict others. Your answers to these questions reveal how your time will ideally be spent. Next, build your ideal schedule using two essential elements of indistractable scheduling. Element 1. Time boxing. Time boxing is a way of organizing your calendar by dedicating blocks of time to specific activities. For example, you might time box read to kids or go through emails. Time boxing serves two purposes. 1. It helps you balance your responsibilities. Limiting the time you can spend on an activity stops you from working on it until it's done, as you might with tasks on a to-do list. This prevents you from letting one responsibility take up too much of your time at the expense of another. 2. It helps you stick to what you're meant to be doing. You decide what you'll do and when you'll do it. This can stop small, easy tasks from distracting you from what you're doing, because you know it will get done at another time. For example, in the middle of a difficult task, you might think, I should return Sheila's call now, before I forget. Having a time-boxed schedule allows you to say, I set time this afternoon for catching up on calls. I'll add Sheila to that list. Element 2. No blank space. You must schedule everything you do, because it's the only way to accurately gauge your indistractability, that is, how often you do what you planned. It doesn't matter so much what your schedule looks like, it matters that you stick to it. For example, if you plan to spend all morning on Reddit and actually do so, you were indistractable, doing what you planned to. On the other hand, if you planned to spend an hour watching television but answered a few work emails on your phone, you were distracted, not doing what you planned. Part 3. Reduce external triggers. Our lives are inundated with external triggers that tempt us with an easy escape from internal discomfort. Deciding how to handle these triggers can be complicated. While most are distractions, some can help you build traction. For example, you may have alarms that keep you on schedule or health apps that send reminders to drink water and stretch. Manage 8 common external triggers. It's up to you to decide which of your device's triggers are useful and which are distracting. Give each trigger an honest assessment by asking yourself, does this trigger serve me? Then, adjust your devices so only the triggers that serve you can get your attention. There are 8 common triggers that you should think about. 1. Other people. Create an obvious visual cue that tells other people that you're not available for interruption. This can take any form that makes sense to you, such as a sign on top of your computer monitor with a message, I'm focusing right now, please come back later, or a designated hat or pair of headphones that signify deep focus time. 2. Email. Checking your email and responding to messages may feel productive, but it can take up hours of your day. To reduce your overall email time, you have to manage 2 factors. Time spent checking email. First, make your inbox less tempting by making it predictable. Unsubscribe from unimportant newsletters and services. Second, reduce the number of emails you receive. You can do this by setting aside in-person office hours or setting your emails to delay your responses by a few hours, slowing down the response cycle. Time answering email. Each time you check your inbox, reply to urgent emails, tag semi-urgent emails, today, and tag non-urgent emails, this week. Set a daily time box for processing today emails and a weekly time box for processing this week emails. 3. Group chat. Set 3 boundaries around your group chat use so that it shows up in your workday as a tool for traction, rather than invading your workday as a distraction. Use it sparingly. Use group chat like any other real-time communication. Schedule time to check messages and reply. Set an away message and turn it off at the end of your group chat time box. Keep groups small. Restrict chat invitees to 2 or 3 people who are most relevant to the issue and can contribute meaningfully. Use it only for quick, unimportant matters. discuss complicated and sensitive issues in person, and leave your chat for simple confirmations or questions. 4. Meetings. Often, meetings are an excuse for someone to get others to think about a problem they have. They interrupt employees' schedules, and when attendees are stuck in a boring and unproductive echo chamber of the same ideas around an issue, they'll be triggered toward distracted behaviors. You can make meetings more meaningful in 2 ways. Require preparation. The meeting organizer must send out a short agenda that details the problem and their best suggestion for a solution. Prior to the meeting, attendees should use this information to brainstorm solutions. These 2 steps ensure that everyone will hit the ground running at the meeting. Ban devices. Ask attendees to take notes with pen and paper and set up a charging station by the door where they can plug in their devices. 5. Smartphones. Your smartphone is probably one of the most distracting things in your life, but it can also be a useful tool for a variety of tasks. Maximize your phone's use as a tool for traction by first rearranging your apps and then adjusting their settings. Rearrange your apps. First, delete any apps that don't serve you. Second, think about apps that are useful to you, but distracting. You can often replace where you use these apps. For example, you might delete social media from your phone and use it exclusively on your computer. Last, rearrange your apps to remove clutter. Sort traction-supporting apps into a Goals folder and a Tools folder on your home screen, and move all other apps to the secondary screen. Adjust the settings. Think about which apps deserve to grab your attention in any situation. These apps, for example, your email and your messaging app, can keep their audio or visual notifications. Disable notifications for everything else. 6. Desktop. When you work against the background of a cluttered desktop, you encounter many visual reminders of questions to answer, tasks to complete, or ideas you wanted to research. These visual reminders of easy and interesting tasks can easily trigger you to escape from the discomfort of your work. Combat this by sorting everything into out-of-sight folders. This organizes your desktop so you can find what you're looking for quickly and reduce your chances of being distracted by visual reminders. 7. Articles. When you come across an interesting article, you'll often read it right away, at the expense of what you should be doing, or you'll keep it open in a browser tab so you don't lose it, which clutters your workspace with tempting visual reminders. Articles are knowledge-boosting tools when used the right way. Rather than cutting them out, change how and when you spend time on them. Stop reading articles on your web browser. Eyal recommends the browser extension and App Pocket for this step. Pocket will pull an article's content and save it to the app on your phone, so you can read during your article time box instead. 8. Social media. One of the most addictive features of social media is the news feed, where you can scroll through endless pictures and posts. Without the news feed, social media becomes less addictive and more in your control. There are 2 methods you can use. Install browser extensions to control what you see. You can find extensions to block almost anything that you find is keeping you stuck on social media, including the news feed, recommended videos, and comments. Preload specific pages. Skip over the home page, where the news feed lives, by navigating directly to the page you want to access. To do this, save specific frequently visited or important URLs to your bookmarks bar so you'll go directly to the part of the site you want to be on. For example, instead of bookmarking facebook.com, you might bookmark facebook.com/messages or facebook.com/left-your-business page. Part 4. Create pre-commitments. The last part of the Indistractable model focuses on locking yourself into traction, rather than keeping distractions out. You accomplish this by using pre-commitments, choices you make while in an undistracted state that will help guide your behaviors when you're tempted by distraction in the future. There are 3 types of pre-commitments that minimize the power of distraction: effort pacts, price pacts, and identity pacts. Effort pacts. An effort pact is a pre-commitment that makes it more difficult to do something undesirable. This extra bit of difficulty gives you a moment to pause and ask yourself if the distraction is really what you want to do. There are several ways you can create effort pacts for yourself. You can set apps, such as Self-Control and Forest, to block certain websites when you need to focus. You can make yourself accountable to others. For example, asking a friend who works from home to come work in your home office so you both stay focused. Price packs. Price packs attach money to your pre-commitment as an incentive to stick with what you said you would do. If you do what you're supposed to, you get to keep the money. If you don't, you have to give up the money. This works especially well because people are much more motivated by possible loss than they are by possible gains. For example, if you always skip over guitar practice, attach a $100 bill to your practice schedule and make a pact. If you miss a session, you must light the bill on fire. Every time you think about skipping practice, this tangible loss will help you rethink it. Identity packs. Identity packs are a pre-commitment to the identity you want to have. These packs naturally align your behaviors with the desired identity. For example, make being indistractable an integral part of your identity by making a pact to describe yourself as someone who is indistractable. For example, you're not someone who can't tolerate distracting notifications. You're someone who doesn't tolerate them.